I thought the toy meant she still had hope. I was wrong. Midnight was pressed into the corner of her kennel, body so still I had to watch for breathing. Black coat, white chest, and clamped between her jaws, this small gray rabbit. Ears gone, one eye missing, stuffing leaking from split seams. The shelter worker stood beside me, voice barely above a whisper. She won't put it down. Not to eat, not to sleep. 3 families brought her back because of it. I knelt down slow. Midnight didn't look at me. Her eyes were fixed on the concrete wall, pupils so dilated they looked black, empty in a way that made my hands go cold. And that's when I understood. That toy wasn't hope. It wasn't comfort. It was the last thing in her world that hadn't hurt her yet, the only thing she could trust not to leave, not to lie, not to turn violent. And she was holding on like letting go meant dying, because maybe it did. The shelter was chaos, dogs barking from every direction, bodies slamming against cage doors, paws scratching metal until it screamed, all of them desperate, all of them still believing someone would choose them. I walked past golden retrievers with tails beating the air, past pit bulls pressing their whole faces through the bars, tongues out, eyes wide and pleading, past puppies climbing over each other, small and soft and ready to love anyone who'd let them. Every single one of them wanted out. Every single one of them still had faith in people. And then I got to the last kennel. Midnight wasn't barking, wasn't moving. She was curled in the back corner, body folded so tight she looked half her size. Black fur, white patch on her chest that rose and fell too fast. Her ribs pressed through her coat like prison bars. Her ears were pinned so flat they disappeared into her skull. But it was the toy that made me stop breathing. A gray rabbit, shredded, faded to almost nothing, one ear missing, the other hanging by threads. She had it clamped in her mouth, pressed against her chest with both paws, and her jaw was trembling around it. Not shaking from cold, shaking from the effort of holding on. I just stood there, couldn't move, couldn't look away. The shelter worker appeared beside me. Her voice came out careful, sad in a way that sounded permanent. That's Midnight. She came in 4 months ago. Someone tied her to a dumpster and drove away. She had that toy with her when animal control found her. I looked at her. She's been holding this whole time? She nodded. Won't let it go. Not for food, not for walks, not for anything. 3 families adopted her. Her voice dropped. All 3 brought her back. They said she was too broken, too scared to fix. I turned back to Midnight. She still wasn't looking at me. Her eyes were locked on the concrete, unblinking, like if she looked at anything else, the world would collapse. But her jaw wouldn't stop trembling around that toy. What happens if nobody takes her? I asked. The worker took too long to answer. When she did, her voice cracked at the edges. We'll keep trying, but honestly, dogs like Midnight don't usually make it out. People want dogs that are already happy. I knelt down in front of the kennel, moving like I was made of glass. Midnight's eyes shifted, just for half a second, and I saw it. She wasn't waiting to be saved. She was waiting to be abandoned again, and she'd already accepted it. My chest felt hollow. I stood up. I'm taking her. The worker blinked. Are you sure? She might never. I'm taking her. The worker unlocked the kennel. The metal scraped and clanged. Midnight flinched so violently her head hit the wall. The sound made my stomach turn. Easy, I whispered. We're just going to the car. I clipped the leash to her collar, hands shaking more than hers. She didn't fight, didn't pull away. She just stood there frozen, that rabbit locked in her mouth like it was the only thing keeping her heart beating. I gave the leash the smallest pressure. Midnight took 1 step, stopped, body rigid. Another step, stopped. It took us 7 minutes to walk 15 feet. People stared as we passed. A kid pointed. Why won't that dog let go? His mother pulled him away, face tight with discomfort. We made it to the parking lot. I opened the back door. In you go, girl. Midnight looked at the car like she was looking at her own grave. Her legs were shaking so hard I thought they'd give out. Her breathing came in short, shallow gasps. I waited, didn't touch her, didn't push. After what felt like an hour, she jumped in. She moved to the far corner of the back seat and pressed herself against the door so hard I heard it creak. The toy was wedged between her paws now, held tight against her chest. I closed the door, got in the driver's seat, started the engine. The whole ride, I kept checking the rearview mirror. Midnight hadn't moved, not once. She was sitting completely still, staring straight ahead at nothing. Her eyes were open, but vacant, like her body was there, but she wasn't. I tried talking, kept my voice as soft as I could. You're going to like the apartment. It's quiet, just you and me, no cages, no noise. Nothing, not even a flicker. I got you good food and a real bed, soft blankets. Her ears didn't twitch. I know you don't trust me. That's okay. I'm going to show you. I'm going to show you that not everyone leaves. Her breathing stayed fast, panicked, like she was suffocating in open air. I turned onto my street, pulled into the parking spot, cut the engine. The silence in the car felt thick enough to choke on. We're here, I said. Midnight didn't move. I got out, walked around, opened her door. She was still in the exact same position, staring at nothing, toy pressed against her chest, breathing too fast. I reached for the leash. Midnight flinched so hard she hit her head on the car roof. The thud made my throat close. Hey, I'm sorry, I said, voice breaking. I didn't mean. But she wasn't hearing me. Her whole body was convulsing now. Her eyes were huge, wild, seeing something I couldn't. I stepped back, gave her space, and felt it sink in. What if I can't reach her? What if I'm not enough? It took 12 minutes to get Midnight from the car to the apartment, one step at a time, each one looking like it cost her everything she had left. I unlocked the door, pushed it open. This is home now. Midnight stood at the threshold like she was standing at the edge of a cliff. I walked inside, left the door open, waited. She took one step in. The door clicked shut behind her. Her whole body locked up, her breathing turned ragged, desperate. Her eyes darted around the room, searching for exits, for weapons, for whatever was coming next. Then she dropped low and backed into the corner by the door, pressed herself against the wall so hard I heard it creak. The toy never left her mouth. I'd spent a week preparing, bought her a bed, the expensive kind, memory foam and soft blankets, set it up in the quietest corner, got her toys, a rope, a ball, laid them out like gifts, filled a bowl with good food, another with fresh water, made it perfect. She didn't even glance at any of it. I set the food bowl a few feet from her. You hungry? Midnight stared at the wall, her body coiled tight, trembling. I backed away, sat on the couch. Take your time. Hours passed. I tried everything, sat on the floor, laid down, talked, stayed silent, left the room, came back. Nothing worked. Midnight stayed in that corner, holding that rabbit, shaking. The sun went down. I turned on a lamp. She flinched at the light like I'd struck her. My chest ached watching her, this small, broken thing that had been hurt so many times she'd forgotten how to exist without fear. I grabbed a pillow, sat on the floor across from her, maybe 10 feet away. I'm not going anywhere, I said quietly. I know you don't believe me, but I'm staying. Midnight's eyes met mine for less than a second, then darted away like looking at me hurt. I stayed on that floor for hours. My back screamed, my legs went numb, but every now and then she'd glance at me, quick, furtive looks, checking if I was still there, or checking if I was about to hurt her. The food sat untouched, the water too. The bed might as well have been invisible. Around midnight, my eyes started closing. I pulled the pillow under my head, stretched out on the cold floor. Good night, Midnight, I whispered. She didn't respond, just kept staring into the dark, that toy pressed against her like it was the only solid thing left in the universe. And somewhere in my chest, a thought kept repeating, what if she's too broken? What if love isn't enough? 4 days in and nothing had changed. Midnight still wouldn't eat if I was in the room. I'd set the food down, back away, wait. She'd just sit there staring at it, body tense like it might explode. But the second I left, I'd hear her move, fast, frantic, like she only had seconds. When I came back, the bowl would be empty. She was starving herself just because I existed near her. I tried everything. Sat across the room with my back turned, pretended to read, left without a word. Didn't matter. She wouldn't touch the food until I disappeared. And she flinched every single time I stood up, every time I moved. Didn't matter if I was getting water or walking to the bathroom. Didn't matter if I moved slow or announced it first. She flinched like I'd raised a fist. That's what destroyed something in me. Knowing that someone had beaten her so badly, so many times, that just the act of me standing up made her body prepare for violence. At night, she crawled under the couch. I'd lie awake listening to her breathing under there, the small shifts when she adjusted her grip on that rabbit, the occasional whimper she tried to swallow. Once I got down on the floor to check on her. She scrambled back so fast she hit her head on the underside of the couch. I heard the impact, heard her cry out, small and broken. I didn't try again. On day 8, I sat on the couch staring at nothing. Midnight was beneath me somewhere, close but untouchable. I started wondering if bringing her home was the cruelest thing I could have done. Maybe she needed someone who actually knew how to fix traumatized dogs, someone with experience, with training, with answers, because I had nothing, and she was just as terrified the day I found her, maybe more. I leaned forward, buried my face in my hands. I don't know what to do, I said out loud. My voice cracked in half. Silence. Then I heard it. A small sound from under the couch. Not a whimper, just a shift, like she'd moved, like maybe she'd heard me. I lifted my head, looked at the gap between couch and floor. Couldn't see her, but I knew she was there, could feel her presence like a held breath. I'm not giving up on you, I said quietly. I know you don't believe me yet, but I'm not. Silence. But I made myself a promise right then. I didn't bring Midnight home because I thought it would be easy. I brought her home because she needed someone who wouldn't walk away. And I wasn't going to be another person who proved her right about the world, even if it took forever, even if she never trusted me. I was staying. It happened on day 8. I was making coffee in the kitchen. Midnight was in the living room, not hiding, just existing. That alone felt like a miracle. I reached for the mug on the counter. My elbow caught a glass. It fell. The crash was so loud it felt like the walls shook, glass shattering against tile, pieces scattering, the sound echoing like gunfire. I froze. 1 second of silence, then scrambling, nails tearing across the floor, desperate, panicked. Midnight, I started, but she was gone. I ran into the living room. She wasn't by the couch, wasn't in her corner. I dropped to my knees, looked under the couch. She was wedged as far back as physics would allow, pressed against the wall like she was trying to merge with it. Her whole body was shaking, not trembling, convulsing. Her eyes were blown wide, seeing something that wasn't in this room, wasn't in this time. The rabbit was clamped so tight in her mouth, I could see her teeth cutting into the fabric. Midnight, I'm so sorry, I said. My voice came out shaking. It was an accident, just a glass, that's all. She wasn't hearing me. Her breathing was ragged, gasping, like she was drowning in air. Her whole body jerked with every breath. She was back there, wherever there was, whatever nightmare she'd lived through before I found her. She was living it again, right now, in real time. I laid flat on the floor, trying to get closer. You're safe, I whispered. I promise, you're safe. But she didn't believe me. I could see it in her eyes, all the tiny progress we'd made, the morning she'd sat slightly closer, the way her breathing had started to slow when I was near. It was gone, erased like it never existed. She was back to minute 1. I sat there on the floor watching her shake, feeling my chest cave in. Maybe I wasn't cut out for this. Maybe Midnight needed someone who wouldn't make mistakes, who wouldn't drop things, who wouldn't accidentally send her back into her worst memories with one careless movement. I thought about calling the shelter, but what would I even say? That I'd failed her like everyone else? Hours crawled by. I stayed in the living room, didn't leave her, just sat there on the hard floor waiting. Midnight didn't come out, and I understood something that made my stomach turn to stone. This wasn't going to be linear. Some days she'd trust me, some days she wouldn't, some days she'd remember what people had done to her, and all I could do was wait. One mistake erased weeks of trust. That's what trauma does. If you're still here, you understand why these stories matter. Subscribe. Dogs like Midnight are still waiting for someone who won't give up. Don't let them wait alone. 3 in the morning, something woke me. Then I heard it. Pacing, nails clicking against hardwood, back and forth, and whimpering, soft, constant, like she was trying to hold it in, but her body wouldn't let her. I got up, walked into the living room. Midnight was in the middle of the room, pacing tight circles. The rabbit was clamped in her mouth. Her eyes were wide, unfocused, like she wasn't seeing the apartment at all. She was somewhere else, trapped in something invisible. "Midnight," I said softly. She didn't stop, just kept pacing, whimpering with every step. Her whole body trembled like she was coming apart. I'd seen her scared before, seen her shake, seen her hide. But this was different. This was a complete breakdown. I didn't know what to do. Every instinct screamed to help her, to call her name louder, to do something. But I'd learned by now that pushing made it worse. So I sat down on the floor, right there in the middle of the living room, crossed my legs, put my hands in my lap, and I just existed. Midnight kept pacing, walked past me, circled, walked past me again. Her breathing was fast, shallow, desperate. I didn't move, didn't try to touch her, didn't speak. Minutes passed, 5, 10, 15. Midnight's pacing started to slow. Not much, but enough. She walked past me, stopped, looked at me. Really looked at me. Her eyes were still wild, still terrified, but there was something else there now, something I'd never seen. A question, like she was asking me something she didn't have words for. I didn't move, just looked back, kept my face calm, kept my breathing steady. "I'm here," I whispered. "That's all." Midnight took a step toward me, stopped. The rabbit was still in her mouth, her body still shaking. Another step. My heart was pounding so hard I thought it might burst. She got close, close enough to touch. I didn't move. And then Midnight collapsed, not away from me, into me. She dropped into my lap hard enough that I had to catch myself. The toy was still in her mouth. Her whole body shook like it was falling apart at the seams. But she was choosing me. I wrapped my arms around her, slow, gentle, like holding something made of glass and grief. She didn't pull away. She pressed her head into my chest, hard, like she was trying to crawl inside me. "I got you," I whispered. My voice broke. "I got you. You're safe." Midnight made a sound, not a whimper, not a cry, something in between, something that sounded like surrender and relief and heartbreak all at once. And we stayed like that for hours. The next morning, something changed. I woke up on the couch. Midnight was on the floor beside me, curled up but not pressed against the wall, not hiding, just near me. The rabbit was still in her mouth. Her jaw looked looser. Her breathing was slow, even. She was resting. Over the next 2 weeks, small things shifted. Midnight started sitting closer, not right next to me, but closer, 5 feet instead of 10, and she'd stay, watching, studying me like she was trying to solve an equation. I'd sit reading and look up to find her eyes on me. Not scared eyes, just watching. One afternoon, I put her food down and sat across the room like always, but I didn't leave. I just sat there, looked at my phone, pretended I wasn't paying attention, and Midnight ate. Slowly, carefully, but she ate while I was there. I had to look away so she wouldn't see my face crumbling. At night, she stopped crawling under the couch. She'd sleep on the floor next to it, out in the open, vulnerable. I'd wake up at 2 a.m. sometimes and just watch her, the way her ribs moved when she breathed, the way her paws twitched when she dreamed, the way she didn't wake up panicking anymore. The rabbit was always there, tucked against her chest, but some mornings I'd notice her mouth wasn't clamped around it. It would just be lying beside her. That felt like everything. 3 weeks after the breakdown, I came home from the store. I opened the door, arms full of bags, and Midnight was there. Not hiding, not pressed in a corner, right there at the door, waiting for me. Her ears were up, her body was still careful, still tense, but she'd come to the door. She'd waited. I set the bags down slow. "Hey, girl." Midnight stepped forward, one step, sniffed my hand, then pressed her head against my leg. I almost broke down right there in the doorway. This was the same dog who wouldn't look at me a month ago, the same dog who flinched at every movement, the same dog who ate alone in the dark because being near me felt like danger. And now she was greeting me. I knelt down, stayed at her level, didn't try to pet her, just stayed there. "You're doing so good," I whispered. Midnight looked at me, and underneath the caution, underneath the wariness that might never fully leave, I saw something new. Hope. Real, fragile, terrifying hope. The kind that hurts because you've been hurt before. The kind that takes everything you have to feel. I woke up to silence, not the heavy, suffocating silence of those first weeks, a different kind, softer, almost peaceful. I opened my eyes, morning light filtered through the window, gentle and warm, and I saw her. Midnight was on the couch, not under it, on it. She was sprawled on her side, legs stretched out, belly exposed. Her head rested on the cushion. Her breathing was deep and slow, the kind that only comes when you feel safe enough to stop guarding yourself. I didn't move, didn't want to wake her, didn't want to shatter whatever this moment was. And then I saw it. The rabbit. It was on the floor, just lying there by the couch. Not in her mouth, not tucked against her body, not pressed between her paws. Just lying there. Forgotten. My throat got so tight I couldn't breathe. I had to blink hard to keep my vision from blurring. That toy had been everything to her, her lifeline, her proof that at least one thing in the world wouldn't hurt her. The only constant in a life that had been nothing but pain and abandonment. And now it was just on the floor because she didn't need it anymore. I sat up slow, careful not to make noise. Midnight's ear twitched, but she didn't wake. Her body stayed relaxed, peaceful, trusting. I looked at her. really looked. The way her chest rose and fell, the way her paws rested loose, unclenched, the way her face looked soft instead of haunted. This was the same dog who'd pressed herself into shelter corners like she wanted to disappear. The same dog who'd shaken so hard I thought she'd break. The same dog who couldn't eat, couldn't sleep, couldn't exist without terror. And now she was sleeping on my couch, belly up, defenseless, at peace. I reached out slow, rested my hand on her back. Midnight didn't flinch. She sighed, a deep, content sigh. Then her eyes opened, not startled, not afraid, just opened. She looked at me, and for the first time since I met her, there was no fear in those eyes, just peace. I scratched behind her ears, gentle. Her tail thumped once against the couch, soft, easy. "You did it," I whispered. My voice broke. "You made it." I looked at that gray rabbit on the floor, torn, faded, abandoned. Midnight had held onto it because it was the only thing that couldn't leave, and she let it go because she'd found something better, something that would stay. She'd found home. She'd found safe. She'd found me. 4 weeks later, I came home from work, opened the door. Midnight was there waiting. Her tail wagged, not hesitant, not careful, just wagging. "Hey, girl," I said. She stepped forward, pressed her entire body against my legs, leaned into me like she'd been doing it her whole life. I knelt down, ran my hands through her fur. She closed her eyes, leaned her head into my chest, and let out a deep sigh. No shaking, no fear, just trust. The changes had kept coming. Midnight started eating right next to me, not across the room, right there. She'd glance up mid-bite like she still couldn't believe it was allowed. She started sleeping on the couch at night, sprawled out, taking up more space than me, belly exposed, legs everywhere, completely vulnerable. The first time I saw her like that, I took a picture. I needed proof this was real. And the rabbit stayed on the floor. Some days I'd move it, put it in the corner. Midnight would walk right past without looking. She didn't need it anymore. I sat down on the couch. Midnight jumped up, curled into my side, rested her head in my lap. I looked down at her, at this broken, terrified, discarded dog who'd forgotten what safety felt like. And I understood something I hadn't before. Midnight didn't hold that toy because it gave her hope. She held it because it was the only thing that couldn't abandon her. A toy can't change its mind, can't decide you're too broken, can't get tired of trying, can't walk away. It just stays. And Midnight had spent her entire life waiting for something that would stay. Something that wouldn't leave when she shook, wouldn't return her when she was too scared, wouldn't give up when healing took too long. I scratched behind her ears. She pressed closer, completely relaxed. "You're never going to be alone again. Never." Midnight looked up at me. Her eyes were calm, soft, trusting in a way that made my chest ache. And her tail wagged. Not because she wanted something, not because she was excited, because she believed me. This broken, terrified, discarded dog who'd forgotten what safety felt like, finally understood. This was forever. I was her forever. She was mine. Midnight spent years believing no one would stay. When someone finally did, everything changed. If you're still here, you're the kind of person who doesn't walk away. Hit subscribe. There are so many more like Midnight waiting for someone who won't give up. Don't let their stories go unheard.